Hola! Hi everybody. So after posting a picture of Isolda's grandson, this is Isolda, this is her back end. Most of you know the front from my pictures. After posting a picture of Curioso yesterday, that's Isolda's grandson, a picture of his tail in a Nudo Vaquero, the cowboy knot, I was asked to post a video. Well, actually, I asked everybody. I said, if you like this, if you'd like to know how to do it, then let me know and I'll make a little video. So tonight, actually, I will do that and explain how to make an easy Nudo Vaquero, because somebody actually posted a link on my Facebook page showing how to do the Nudo Vaquero a different way. That's how a lot of people in Spain do it. There's different ways. Some are a little bit more difficult than others. So I'm going to show you the easy way, the one that I use for everyday riding because I'm kind of an orthodox. I always have to have the tail in a knot because I think that's just much nicer. So first of all, I thought maybe it's interesting to tell you why the Spanish actually put the tails in a knot. Well, so most of you know that Doma Vaquera is actually the way of riding with the bullfighting. Actually, the work in the fields, in the campo, with the cattle there. The cattle's quite aggressive because they are bred for bullfighting. So one thing that people were a little bit confused about is why bulls actually attack. And what they do is they go after motion. So when you see the bullfighters, waving their capes, that's what they're going for. Not because it's pink or red, but because of the motion. So you can imagine if you're working in the fields with the horses, just herding the cattle, making them go from one part of the pasture to the other. You don't want to, provoke them to attack. You just want to move them along, which goes very easily by horseback. But you don't want to provoke them any more than necessary. So the tails are put in a knot. Otherwise you'd have the tails flowing and, creating this motion that might provoke the bulls. So that's why they actually tied in a knot. And something also interesting to know is, nowadays you see, of course, the horses with the either cut off tails at just the hair at the end of the tail, but some horses are still actually also docked. Now, contrary to what a lot of people believe, this is not a Spanish tradition. The Spanish did not do this actually until the English came to Spain with their hackneys. And hackneys were docked, of course. So when the Spanish saw that, they thought, wow, that's freaking easy, because why would we go through all that effort doing the knots in the tails when we could just cut the tails off? Way easier. So that's what they started doing in some cases, and they still do it to this day. In a lot of countries, things like that are not allowed anymore, but in Spain it is, so they do that because it's easier. And this is also where the name jaca came from. So I don't know if any of you are familiar with the name jaca. Jaca is usually the name, or it's not a breed of horse, but it's used as a name to refer to the horses that are used in the field, or the horses that are used for Doma Vaquera, jaca, which comes from hackney, jaca. So interesting little tidbit there to tell you. So I'm going to explain in a minute how we do the knot. First of all, of course, your horse's tail has to be brushed. Doesn't have to be clean. Actually, preferably not. If you have a mare like I do, Isolda, when they're in heat and their tail is all disgusting and dirty, actually that's maybe even better to do the knot because that means it stays. Thank you, Isolda, for that little contribution. So yes, if your mare's in heat, it stays a little better. Otherwise, if you have a feria or a competition or a show, you want to really make sure the tail stays in a knot. What you can do is make it wet as well, or you just tie a really good knot. I actually seldom make it wet. I just make sure my knot is nice and tight and doesn't come loose. So after brushing your tail, potentially making it wet, you're ready to do the knot. So I got up a little bit closer now. So to do the knot, the easy knot, so the one you saw on the link and the ones you see on internet are with 3 pieces, 3 strands of hair. And this one is actually only with 2, so it's a little bit easier to remember, but it does require quite some practice. Before you really get the hang of it, you might want to do it a lot. Like I said, I do it every day. Every time I ride, I always put a knot in each shoulder's tail because it makes your butt look awesome. Look how nice that is. Look at that strong butt. 22 years old. So what you want to do is divide the tail in 2 pieces. So as you can see, I have a thick piece here and I have a smaller strand here. You just take it at the top. You divide a smaller strand. I would say, if I had to say how big that is, I would say maybe 1/5, something like that. So you take the thicker piece of tail and you start twisting it. So you take it and you start twisting it clockwise. And you keep twisting the tail until it starts to really turn like this. And once it starts to bend and create that turn, then you start twisting it actually around the tail. And you keep the strand at the bottom there. You don't put it on top, you put it on the bottom so your bigger strand covers the smaller one, and then you grab it from the other side and you just keep twisting that thicker strand, that basically almost the whole tail. You just keep twisting and twisting and twisting clockwise around the tail, and you do it again depending how long the tail is. One thing to mention is, if you have cut your horse's tail square at the bottom, just cut it off straight, that's going to make it a lot more difficult. I know a lot of your horses have longer tails if you have an Andalusian, and that's going to make it a lot more difficult. So it's better if the horse just has, the regular tail where it just, goes thinner at the bottom. But if you had to cut it off, good luck. I'm just kidding. It is possible, but it does make it more difficult. So you keep twisting that piece of hair, you keep going around as much as you can. Like I said, depending on how long the tail is, and you go around until you're left with this piece on the other side, about this big. Then you take that piece at the bottom, that thin strand, and you start twisting it around counterclockwise. You take that and you twist it around counterclockwise. Also, again, depending on how long your tail is, not sure how many times you can go around until you bring it up to the top and you join it with the other piece. So here I have the one end, the smaller strand, and here I have the end of the thicker strand, and you join them together and you start twisting them counterclockwise. You start twisting until, again, just like what happened at the bottom, you start getting this knot. See, it's twisting, and then I keep twisting it until it turns, it like drops over. And then once that happens, no, Isolde, don't move. Don't move. Wait, I have to call Isolde back. Good girl. Oh, good girl. So you have this little piece here. Sorry, my hand's in front of it. So that twisted, that turned over. Once you have that, you start twisting the end around that little piece. So see that little piece there left over? Start twisting it around there until you have this little piece of hair left over here. Let me move the camera a little bit so you can see it, since the shoulder moved. And now what you want to do with that little knot that's left here, you want to turn that under that thinner strand that you wrapped around counterclockwise. So you're going to have to grab that, get your fingers under it, because if you did it really tight, you should hardly be able to put your fingers under it. And you put your thumb under it, and then you work your way up, and you twist that knot. See, so I've got my thumb under here, And then I'm gonna twist that knot back around towards the tail under that string of hair. So it's gonna be difficult to see. I'm gonna twist it under, can you see? Under that piece of hair until it's pointing down now. So see, it's under that smaller strand, that thinner strand, and it's pointing down. And then I still have those two, that little piece of hair left here, and I divide that in two, and I pull it to the sides, and that kind of tightens it a little bit. Pull it to the side, and then you have these beautiful little strands to the side. What you can do is sometimes you can pull the tail down a little bit too, that helps. And there you have, oh, Isola, lovely, lovely contribution. Thank you so much. You have a beautiful vaquero knot. Just look at that butt. 22 years, I mean, isn't that butt awesome when you do the knot? I hope I have a butt like that when I'm in my 60s, because that's about what she is now. She's almost 22. She'll be 22 in March. Look at that ass. Amazing. Beautiful with the knot in it. Makes them look so much stronger. So, I hope you enjoyed. That was basically my first video. I hope you really enjoyed. I will start making more of these. I'll start explaining more about Doma Vaquera and what we do and how we do things and why we do things. And I hope you will enjoy that. I'll be going to Spain soon, so there'll be lots more coming from there as well. So thank you, and see you soon.